Only touch greatness.
This is high definition of the Unconventional Kingz.
And this is Low Key, the wizard of the Unconventional Kingz. And we're on the Only Touch Greatness podcast.
Only Touch Greatness podcast.
That's deep, and that's just great, you know what I mean? Just, coming for where all of us come from, like with music, it takes us always back, you know what I mean? Like back to like Yo MTV Rap days and, Showtime at the Apollo days, right?
Yeah.
What was some of y'all's favorite moments that inspired anything in music with those shows?
And what was live music that made you want to do music?
I mean, watching The Song Remains the Same, which is the documentary style film about Led Zeppelin playing their first show in Madison Square Garden in New York in 1974. And just seeing the four of them get up on stage and just play it raw. They just play it all raw. You hear all that production, all the production and all the songs on the studio albums, but then when they get up on stage, they just kept it like super raw, and the energy that they created was amazing. And the way the crowd interacted with that energy, that's what just hooked me. And it was just like, that's what you got to do. That's what I want to do. I want to do that.
Mine's probably my pops more than anything. If there was like a music moment, not one that made me want to do stuff, but my favorite musical moment of all time is Michael Jackson hitting the moonwalk at the Motown celebration, 25th Motown celebration. When he told them that he would do the show, but the only way he would do the show is if he got to do a solo set, and then he hit that everything was just. It's one of the most magical things ever, and I feel like as far as music goes, I live for that. Even in our shows, there's certain parts of the show I can't wait to get to because I know somebody in the crowd is gonna get the essence of who we are that night. You know what I mean? They're gonna hear us talk about issues that are important to us. They're gonna hear us talk about sex, and they're gonna hear us talk about partying. They're gonna hear us, you know what I mean? They're gonna get a like Crooked Eye said, a real well-balanced meal stylistically, and you know what I mean, and in regard to the content, but it's because of what he just said. He just referenced, we both just referenced legendary artists when we were talking about something that was memorable to us. And I think if you have that kind of mentality when it comes to whether you're making your records or it's a video or whether you're performing live for them, you're trying to create something like that, right? You know what I mean? You hope that at some point somebody's going to see something and you just had that goosebump moment where they just like this so much that they got to make sure that they hold on to it, type of thing. And I felt like that happened with me when I saw the Michael Jackson thing. And I was like, man, and right after that, they went on a tour. And where was I at? Sitting in an expensive ass seat that you shouldn't be in when you're from the ghetto, you know what I'm saying, at Arrowhead Stadium watching Michael Jackson moonwalk. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's it for me in regard to that. I mean, watching Tech N9ne just thrill, venues full of people, thousands of people for the last 20 years. I mean, that's another thing, man. That never gets old to see him walk out on stage and the spectacle of the fact that there's still people that have never seen what Tech N9ne looks like and they've just heard it. And then all of a sudden he's, rapping to a machine gun. You know what I'm saying? Like those moments, people remember it. And when I've taken people to shows over the years, it's something maybe we can get into later on, but like the experience of us today, I mean, I don't know if you guys know that you're talking to us and we're in Kansas City right now. We're in Kansas City because we're at Strange Music, Strangeland Recording Studios, finishing up a lot of songs for a project, but going way back, like I was one of the original people that were around for that, and I was one of the people that were going out and buying 10 CDs and giving 9 of them away to people that never heard it before, and all of that kind of stuff. So let's
take them even farther back, because a lot of people don't understand. When I be saying what I be saying, people don't really be listening. There used to be Krizz Kaliko, Cut Calhoun used to work at a place, and the DJ was my homie, DJ Prozac. And I used to go up in Satin Dolls. I used to go up in Satin Dolls and be up in the DJ booth. And this was before, this is actually before I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I met you, we went in there, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even supposed to be up in there. Her been around. High Def has been around for decades. Before it was a musical thing, like he's been on the scene and in the scene. He's been the Kansas City Cat, like for real, for real, for real.
Damn,
So,
he's first person that said that. Hey, I already got a. I told Low Key on the next project there has to be a section of the album called "The Tales of the Kansas City Cat," and I
hey,
don't know if I can tell them stories, bro. I don't know if I can tell them fucking stories.
Well, the one question I wanted to ask you, as you were saying all that about tech and stuff, the question I wanted to know is, how did you guys first link up?
It was the first time that we linked up where we became aware of who the other person was in 2002. It's either 2002 or 2003. And like B Style just said, Krizz Kaliko was the MC at Satin Dolls Strip Club, and I moved into this house in Raytown, Missouri. And one day I walk out, and nobody had wrapped vans and shit back then. You know what I mean? Like they just didn't, except for Tech. Tech had like 4 vans in town, and they were wrapped with angelic stuff or whatever. And I move into this place, and I come out. I still got boxes and shit in my living room, and I come out, and the Tech N9ne van is parked in front of the house next door. And as I'm walking out to my car, like I'm a fan already. Like I've been a fan since '94. And you know what I'm saying? So I walk out, I'm like, oh my God, like why is Tech N9ne's van next door? And people didn't know what Tech looked like because it wasn't no internet. And it was hard to know, you know what I'm saying, even though he was in the town. So as I'm walking to my car, Krizz Kaliko come out jogging to the van. They're getting ready to go on like a small a run in the Midwest, 5 or 6 shows. And I stopped him and he exchanged, we talked real quick, and he realized that I knew the music for real. Like I was somebody that knew the music. And so they went off and did their show. He comes back. I see him the next day. He says, hey, have you ever met Tech before? And I'm like, nah. He's like, why don't you come down to Satin Dolls tonight and I'll introduce you. And I went back to the VIP. I had 2 girls with me at that time. I was, young and promiscuous guy. And I had 2 girls with me at the time. And then I sat down and another girl came and sat down. And right about that time, Tech walked in and he came over and he was like, hey, nigga, who are you? I see you got all these motherfucking girls around you. I know why the girls are with me. Why you got all these girls with you? Like laughing, you know what I mean? Not like a jerk. And I said, you get pussy because you famous and I'm famous for getting pussy. And that was how we met. That was literally our first conversation. And we've grown since then, mature adults. But no, I met him in there. We had a friendship. Like, so I was a knucklehead. I was 20, doing my early 20s, you know what I mean? And young baby and all of that. And Tech was doing hella drugs at the time. This is the T9X era. He was doing hella drugs. It was the parties were crazy, the shows were crazy, you know what I mean? It was absolute power era leading into Ever Ready. So that 4-year span of like nothing but touring was wild. So during that time, you build some bonds and some friendship through there, but you really find out who got character and who doesn't. And on several occasions, Tech just said to me, man, I don't care about none of this stuff, man. I care about getting my music to the world. Like, I think my music's gonna do something to the world. And me, I wasn't in music at all. And I was just trying to tell him that I thought I had all this talent and that I was supposed to be this, that, and the other. So over the years, I would share my goals in the industries that I was in. And at the end of the year, I'd send him copies of my W-2. Like, yeah, nigga, I hit it. Plus this percentage. I'm gonna do this next year. So we were always just kind of holding each other accountable that like, nah, man, we're gonna keep going up no matter what. And so when I decided to go into music, that obviously added a different dynamic to it. But yeah, our whole relationship is really built off of a personal relationship and nothing to do with music at all.
I actually met Krizz Kaliko and Tech before in Vancouver. The Tech story is pretty awesome. He was coming out the back of the show, and I was waiting there to get an autograph. And this is after his sound check. and he was heading back to his trailer, and he had this monster security guard with him, and I was like, holy crap, this guy's huge. And then he's like, oh, you just can't be waiting out back here for me. I'm like, oh, what do you mean? I'm in a small Canadian town that there's nothing gangster going on here. And he's like, I'm an active member. You can't be like waiting outside my tour bus for me. It was just me in the alley. And then
all right, perfect.
And then he ended up super nice. He signed my 2 autographs for me and gave me a shout out on the podcast. So it was pretty cool to meet. And then Krizz also, when I met him, he was pretty dope. He opened up for Method Man and Redman here on the tour a couple months back.
Yeah, man.
I got a question.